So, something I do. Uh, I was thinking about the everlasting summer here. Kind of feels like the game could read my mind because as I have played it, well, like when we're looking at these endings, not this one, perhaps. Like I want this end first, but like from these endings, it kind of seems like this here would be. Like the game expects you to go for Lena first, and then Alisa. It feels like I was predictable, like for the game, but I don't know. We'll see when we get there. But my guess would have been that most predictable one would be Slavia, since she greeted us at the beginning. Perhaps I am predictable. Who knows? There's no problem in being predictable, I suppose. All right, we were just deciding to walk, and she told us to carry all her stuff. Colgate in on tap says that Lena is the author's favorite girl. All right. But the introvert, eh? Look, we don't know how far we have to go. Maybe you can take only the most necessary things. So what? I just have to throw it away? Leave it here? Lisa sniffed. Firstly, I couldn't understand why she even has that much stuff with her. Yeah, right. And secondly, what's so valuable in there? Like going away for a week to a camp and you bring too much stuff? I mean, what do you need? You need clothes, right? Some essentials, some hygiene stuff. Well, actually, since they all have pioneer clothes, then your personal clothes are useless. But the chivalrous duty of carrying it is mine, isn't it? Of course, she smiled archly. Archly? Archly. I evaluated how much it would weigh. About 10 kilos, I guess. Oof. Oof. I can carry that for a few kilometers, but not much further than that. Well, you can. Well, a few kilometers. Maybe more than that. I think you can do it without too much hassle. Yeah, I'm pretty sure. You do understand we'll not get very far with it. Well, we'll do our best. You mean you can throw something out later? We'll see, she answered with her eyes flashing slyly. Okay, I'm taking you at your word. After all, as I have to carry it, I have the right to throw things out of it. That doesn't make any sense. And so our journey began. It took me at least an hour to start getting tired. I would never have thought that I possessed such stamina. And they are hungover as well. Either the backpack was easy to carry, or last night's exercises had trained my muscles. It takes longer than that to make your muscles grow. I stopped on the roadside and threw Elisa's belongings to the ground. Colgate in on tab says Elisa's parents would probably worry when she won't return. Mm-hmm. They could wait for them, wait at camp for them. There might be something left in the canteen, and there are mushrooms and bears in the forest. I agree with all of those things, but it's like often uh, in this story, you have to suspend your disbelief, right? They are behaving quite weirdly. They're making very strange choices, but you just have to live with it. You just have to live with. I mean, you could suspend your disbelief and just think that Elisa's parents doesn't care about her at all, and that would explain why she's such a uh, brat. You know, it's taking it out on other people, being clamoring for attention. Doing pranks like trying to blow up the statue and stuff like that. That would be typical of a neglected child seeking attention, right? I mean, so even if they would worry, perhaps she doesn't see that, right? She doesn't connect the dot that they would worry after a while. Who knows? Who knows? You can suspend your disbelief, but I agree with you, Colgate. In Untap, I'm just trying to suspend my disbelief just to not be hang up on this stuff too much. I'm trying, at least. I'm not very good at it, but I'm trying. I stopped on the roadside and threw Elisa's belongings to the ground. What are you doing? She was clearly resentful. Do you want to carry it yourself? Of course not. In that case, I need to rest. Naturally, the most rational decision was to get rid of most of the stuff, keeping only the most necessary things. But I couldn't bring myself to such drastic measures. You've been keeping silent for the whole time. Elisa was staring vacantly down the road that receded into the distance. What is there to talk about? I don't know, but you're behaving as if nothing happened. Did something happen? He asked absent-mindedly. Well, had enough rest? Then let's go. Elisa began to quickly walk away from me. Hey, wait a minute. I shouldered the backpack and ran after her. We've been traveling in silence for some time, with Elisa slightly ahead and me behind. Sorry. I had no idea how to start a conversation. She seemed to be giving out obvious hints that the night's events were one big mistake. At least it seemed so to me. Though from my point of view, what happened was meant to happen. For the last few days in the camp, I'd definitely been attracted to Elisa, and I believe she was attracted to me as well. In that case, what's the problem? Maybe she doesn't want it to be just a one-night stand. She turned and looked at me. If I did something wrong, you did nothing wrong, but it just turned out this way. So it was just an accident? I didn't say that. Then what did you say? My inability to get a straight answer made me begin to lose my temper, and I raised my voice. You're just giving me hints, ambiguities. What about straightforwardness, sincerity? You weren't like this before. People tend to change. She slowly paced forwards. Change? You call this a change? You're a completely different person now. Just like Lena, really. I actually had that same thought. She's behaving more and more like Lena, eh? Elisa stopped but didn't turn. Don't compare. Got it? Don't compare me with her. She spoke quietly, but there was a rage in her voice. What? I was somewhat taken aback. Oh? I thought he did that on purpose, like trying to piss her off. You blame me for everything, but what about yourself? Blame? You see, though? You're constantly looking at her. Even now, you manage to see her in me. Wait, but why did you come yesterday then? You could have gone to her. You did know. Didn't know what? You did know that I was waiting for you. It seems that making this confession was hard. Was a hard decision for Elisa, but at first I assigned little significance to her words. Well, you yourself told me yesterday to come yesterday, so I. This isn't about that. Elisa burst into sobs and covered her face with her hands. I was completely taken aback. I still didn't get what she was hinting at, so it was impossible to talk normally. I'm sorry, forgive me. Stop apologizing. But if I said or did something wrong, so what's the point in apologizing if you already did? Better to behave yourself from the beginning. But I don't know how. Lisa looked up at me. There was so much sorrow in her gaze that I couldn't bear it and turned away. She stood like that for some time. Soon she seemed to pull herself back together. Okay, forget it. Let's move on. Naturally, I couldn't forget it even if I wanted to. But I had nothing to say anyway, so I followed her in silence. The sun was slowly moving below the horizon. I was immersed in thoughts and even forgot about that heavy backpack on my back. Really? He forgot he was like exhausted a while ago, but now, like hours later, he just forgets. I had to say something, do something. Elisa is expecting me to. At least a few words. But what should I begin with? I've gotten used to everything in my life being quite simple. Any task seemed to be already finished after a few steps. Instead of considering the long way to my goal, I immediately started to think about the results, enjoying an unachieved victory. Moreover, I doubt that I'd have to face a situation like this in the real world. I don't even know what he's talking about anymore. Obviously, for a long time, I dreamed that about a person who would care about me. Ah, here we go. Oh, it's his depressive personality that rears its ugly head again. Like he's thinking that no one would ever care about him in the real world. That is. Let's suspend our disbelief. It's possible. Right now, such a person is in front of me, and yet I feel nothing. Oh, he doesn't care, does he? And I can't tell Elisa either yes or no, just because I don't know what will happen next. Meanwhile, it got dark. I guess we should make camp for the night. There's not uh, much farther to go. Are you sure? And even if that's so, it's better to travel during the daytime. You know best, she answered coldly. We stopped at the edge of the wood. Do you have anything useful in there? I pointed at the backpack. Have a look. Mainly footwear and clothes were there, but at the bottom I found a magazine and a box of matches. Quite enough to light a fire. Soon we were sitting on a fallen tree and warming our hands by the fire. Only now did I finally realize that I'd finally gotten out of the damned camp. Mm. I had found no answer. On the contrary, everything had become even more tangled, as I guess I am to spend the rest of my life in this reality. If I don't take into consideration all the sci-fi stuff, it is clear that I'm somewhere in the South at the end of the 80s. How, and more importantly, why I was brought here is not so important now, as I have to somehow adapt. and I ought to begin with the girl sitting by my side. So, what will we do when we reach the district center? Call our parents, what else? Lisa smiled slightly. She had someone to call. And then it's all over. Meaning? Well, we'll leave for our homes. I wasn't really surprised by this answer. I just hadn't thought about what would happen after the term ended. And that's it? What else is there? I don't know, after that happened. But nothing happened at all, she told me merrily. What do you mean nothing happened? You'll have a chance to find Lena. I was surprised, but Lena said it absolutely kindly. As if I need Lena. I wouldn't be so sure. I am sure. Let me decide for myself. Yes? When did you start doing such silly things? I suddenly remembered my current age. 17 years ago. Well, admirable. But to be honest, I didn't notice anything like that. What exactly should you have noticed? That you are able to see anything without a single doubt. She was absolutely right at this point. And what exactly do you want to hear? You know what? This game of hints could last forever. I mean, the issue is him either like lying to us or lying to himself or something. Maybe he's a psychopath, I don't know, but this like, I don't feel anything. He's saying that over and over, and that's just... It's a weird thing to say. Like, even to think. Is he trying to convince himself, or is that what's actually happening? I don't know. So it's not about what she wants to hear, dude. That's like a douche thing to do, like saying stuff just because people want to hear them. What you need to do is figure out what you want to say and then say that, not saying what she wants to hear, right? But it's called game theory, I think. Yeah, game theory. Game theory is such a cynical way to look at the world, and I don't think it's good for your mental health. That result orientation, it's like it's again believing that we are all rational beings when we are not. We're emotional beings. You should adapt your behavior towards the emotions that you get. I mean, you're not in control of your emotions. You're in control of your behavior. So adapt your behavior towards your emotions, right? Rather than game theory, just seeing every interaction like you can gain something, win something from the other person. I don't like that. Same reason I think I will like go more than chess. It's not so simple. We are not rational beings. If you want to know how I feel towards you, then speak frankly. I don't know myself. Colgate in on tap says you are in control of which emotions you hide. I mean, what's a different word for hide? One word for hide would be suppress. And that is kind of my point, is that if he's suppressing and hiding in front of himself and others, that is bad for your mental health. All of that hiding is not dealing with the emotions. Hiding is maladaptive. Is that the word I'm looking for? Like you are in control, and you might not even be in control of hiding emotions, because we do have a lot of subconscious behaviors as well, like hiding. Banana Waffle Monkey says, vocab nerd says, yeah, that's the word, maladaptive. Nice. Thanks, Banana Waffle Monkey. Love me some vocabulary nerdistry. Nerdery. I don't know. Colgate in Untap says, I try to suppress my negative emotion in front of others because emotions are contagious. Yeah, and I would argue that that is suppressing negative emotions is maladaptive, and the more you do it, like, let's say, for example, someone slaps you in the face, right? Just whoosh, simple thing that most people will get an anger emotional reaction to that, right? So what we can do is do like what religion tells us to do, is just suppress that, like don't accept that part of yourself, because suppressing is like, oh, I don't accept that I'm becoming angry, right? So you don't deal with that anger and you just push it down and down, and away it goes. Then, since you're not behaving after your feelings, what will happen is that you train yourself into every time you get angry, or when people slap you in the face, like slap in the face here is a metaphor. Every time someone slaps you in the face, you get angry, you push it away, you get angry, push it away, and you train yourself to that behavior. What you also are doing at that very time is that you're training the outside world to slap you in the face. Because you as a person, there's part of your responsibility towards yourself is to express your anger towards how other people behave against you. And like, do you see where I'm getting at here? Like, if you tell the person, stop, I don't want you to slap me in the face, I'm getting angry, like, tell them, maybe the person would respond with, oh, sorry, I didn't know. I mean, yeah, I'm simplifying stuff here, but you know, like you would, it's causing a rift, like it takes two people to dance, and you need to take your responsibility to express your emotions so that you manipulate, that you adapt yourself and the reality towards your emotional needs. There we go. Does that make any sense? That's the way I've been thinking about it lately anyway. Yeah, emotions are contagious indeed. I mean, and I think that's where we differ actually, because you call them negative emotions. I mean, negative is in that it feels bad being angry or sad and all of those things. But the emotions themselves are healthy and good. I mean, from a mental health perspective. Like, you're supposed to feel bad and good. I mean, life is not just striving for one thing. Like, accepting and embracing the bad emotions as well, the negative emotions as well. It's part of life, right? I don't know. I'm rambling a bit here. And I misread this line I see here. If you want to know how I feel towards you, then I'll speak frankly. Or, I don't know myself, he says. There we go. Some honesty. That's pretty good. That's exactly what I'm talking about, says Alisa, and turns away. What can I do? It's the truth. What can I do? Says Alisa. I don't ask anything of you. Yeah? Are you sure? Sure, I answered after a while. And what were you doing all 7 days in the camp? What was I doing? You were asking, weren't you? What was I asking for? For what reason? Can't you talk in a way that people can understand? The mind readers are on vacation. If you wanted to, you would understand. Can't understand without an explanation. Here we go. Like, understand his own feelings without an explanation? Wait, I don't understand. What just happened? He doesn't know, and that's what she's talking about. It's annoying that he doesn't express his own feelings, if I understand that correctly. She's annoyed by him not expressing his feelings. And his truth is that he doesn't know. So she gets, so what can I do? I don't ask anything of you. Yeah, are you sure? Yeah, he is, right? He is like, he's not taking responsibility, looking inwards toward what are my feelings. She wants to know. He doesn't want to look inside or whatever. For some reason, he doesn't know and have no interest in knowing either. Then he still like pesters her about wanting to know his feelings, right? God, my mind hurts. And what were you doing all 7 days in the camp? I don't understand this point. What was he doing? He was just going with the flow, right? He wasn't doing anything. What was I doing? You were asking, weren't you? I mean, that's a stretch. Maybe. I mean, if we look at this as the camp, if we look back to it's something that happens in his head or something, it could be like all the camp was subconscious representation of him trying to become an adult, I suppose, you know, actually confronting his own feelings about stuff, like taking the step towards mental health, I guess. Like, instead of running away from his depression, maybe this is a subconscious confrontation of that depression. Like, what do I want? Perhaps. What was I asking for? Because if we look at it that way, because then this makes sense as well. If you wanted to, you would understand. Because it's part of his subconscious, like if she's a figment of his imagination. I don't know. It's okay, it's just idle talk. She stood up and went towards the road. No way. I lost my temper completely, so I jumped up, ran up to her in a couple strides, grabbed her hand and pulled her towards me. Oh, he had miscalculated, had he? But I had miscalculated the amount of strength I should use, and we fell to the ground with Elisa lying beneath me. What? Yesterday wasn't enough? Want more? Her face was glowing and her eyes were flashing. Oh man, I can't read between the lines here. Is that anger? I mean, it's not anger here, is it? I felt really mixed up. I released the girl's hands, but I didn't stand up at once. I just want to understand, where did I go wrong? Why are you always thinking that you went wrong somewhere? There we go. She's pointing to like the depression part, if this interpretation works out. Because you think so. Who told you that? I didn't. But I can see it. Like he's projecting, right? You see everything, don't you? You see and draw conclusions that you shouldn't. That you shouldn't interfere, that you should lie low, that you should say nothing. I draw conclusions based on logic. No, you don't. Are you sure that logic of yours is correct? Exactly. I didn't know what to say about that. For some time we just lay there. I was completely confused, and it seemed Elisa didn't want to continue our conversation. Finally, she pushed me away and stood up. Why are you here now with me? Because everyone left the camp and we stayed. I'm not talking about that. Well, because I like you. Finally, I dared to say it directly. Are you sure? And what about Lena? She was always next to you. Maybe she's too much work? And what about me? I'm very simple. Just snap your fingers and I'm in your bed. She is way more work than Lena. Like, Lena was just snap our fingers. Lisa has been a pain in the ass. Such a brat. I wouldn't say it's that simple with her. Don't put words in my mouth, he says. That's fun. Hope she points out the hypocrisy in that. You say nothing, so there's plenty of room there. But you think for a dozen others. There we go. Nice. Well, she was absolutely right on that point. I didn't think anything like that. So, do I just have to simply believe all of this? You don't have to believe. I'm not forcing you. But it's the truth, so I'm not going to make anything up. Words should be proven with actions. I agree. What action is she expecting from me? Again, he does the same crap again. Like, what action is she expecting? She's expecting you to decide what you want to do, dude. Seems that way to me, anyway. Well, we could do it again, said with a stupid smile. I had no idea how I even dared to think of joking in such a situation, especially a joke like that. That was the truth, wasn't it, though? Sure, come on, Lisa said in a calm voice, walked to the fire and started to undress. I jumped up, ran to her and grabbed her arm. What are you doing? Wait, I didn't mean that. Well, what's the big deal? Don't you need me for just that? Of course not, you got me all wrong. Where should I get you then? She pulled her arms free and started crying. I lay down beside her, hugged her, and started patting her head. Everything is all right. Calm down. Leave me alone, she said through her tears, but didn't try to free herself. See, I had a hard life before this camp. I just haven't gotten used to this. I don't know how to act in situations like this. I've been alone for a long time. No friends, no loved ones. I've just forgotten how to feel and how to love. Nice. Sweet. It's hard for me. Sweet. Emotional release. It's so much easier not to get mixed up in those matters. Finally, it became normal just not to. Here we are, something I never could have imagined. Banana Waffle Monkey says, catharsis. Oh, yes, indeed. And we are the voyeurs. Getting the catharsis with him, I suppose. Well, I am at least. Since it was getting frustrating. It doesn't mean that I'm an egotistical bastard. Although, I guess it seems that maybe I am. I just can't do that right away. Lisa didn't reply and continued crying. But I know one thing for sure. There's nothing between me and Lena. She's a friend, nothing more. I never looked at her that way. And I need you, not only for what you think I want. I just don't know how to tell you the things you want to hear. They'd carry obligations. Here we go. Still doing this thing. Tell you the things that I want to say. They'd carry obligations. If we would get a full catharsis, he would say, you just don't know how to tell you the things that I want to say. They carry obligations. I can relate to that. Like saying stuff that you want to say and just, nah, let's just not. Because they carry obligations, and obligations are just, ugh. You see, I am in the kind of situation now where I even don't know what will happen to me in the next hour, and here Lisa seemed to not be listening to me at all, or my excuses didn't reach her. Well, I should be proud of myself. I made a girl cry. And which girl? Alisa, who at first glance seemed to be a complete stranger to any romantic feelings. You know, I can't make this decision for the both of us. I can only say for myself that I am ready to be with you, to support you, to protect you. But you, why do you need me? I have nothing in my soul. I don't know what I want from this life. Besides, I am here now, but tomorrow I might be gone. Lisa stopped crying for a moment. Don't you understand that I made that decision a long time ago? Then she looked up at me with teary eyes. I might have seen happiness in them for a moment. Elisa embraced me and tenderly kissed me. It was the best kiss of my entire life. No, it wasn't as passionate as the one last night, but there was so much tenderness, trust and love that I just dissolved in her lips, in her arms. I forgot about everything, about the camp, about my past, the doubts which were tormenting me a moment before. She was all that I need, and we're back to the moral of the story. If you're depressed, find a girlfriend. It's the best kiss of my entire life, except for the one that I had last night. Nice. Banana Waffle Monkey's quote. She was all that I need, now and forever. Oof. And, like a true Disney kiss, a bus or a car shows up and gives us a lift. The kiss might have lasted forever, but suddenly a horn sounded nearby, as if from inside my brain. I turned to the road and saw a bus. It's like magic. An old Glias. It looked like a regular one. We just lay and looked at it for some time. Soon, the driver left the bus and shouted at us. Hey, lovebirds, this is the last bus to town. Are you coming? Shall we go? Says Elisa merrily. We jumped up, grabbed the backpack, took Elisa by the hand and ran to the bus. In a couple of seconds, we made ourselves feel comfortable on the back seat. I mean, I kind of like saying that the moral of the story is find a girlfriend. One could argue that that is not what happened just here. It's like him getting to terms with his fleeing from life and decided to stop doing that, I suppose. And that the story was just happened to be like a girlfriend. Could have been a friend or like any other person or any other pursuit, I suppose. In a couple of seconds, we made ourselves comfortable in the back seat. The driver was shouting something from his place, but I didn't listen to him. Here it is, a rescue ship heading for a new life. I looked at Elisa. I was so eager to say something, to continue the conversation by the fire. She was sleeping peacefully, resting her head on my shoulder. I didn't wake her up. There was no need. We had so much time ahead of us. Oh? There was no one in the bus except Ross. The bus was going fast, leaving behind not only my previous life, but also the week I'd spent in the pioneer camp called Sovietsk. What about the driver, says Banana Waffle Monkey. What about the driver? Like you picked him up, and then he drives off. Or do you mean he's not in the picture? I went through more during these 7 days than I had throughout all the years of my real life. Oh, oh, right. Banana Waffle Monkey says he said that they were the only ones on the bus. Well, drivers are not real people. They don't care. And we're not real people. We don't care. Maybe it was like, maybe there even are other people on the bus, but it's like his perspective is so newly in love, he's in a crush, and he can only see her, Or maybe that's why the driver isn't there or anyone else on the bus. I don't know. It's easy overlooking. Like a bus driver is a function of the bus. It's not a real person. Like a taxi driver or like a server at a restaurant or... Picture of the bus driver. Nothing. Yeah. But it's been like that, like all the time. We only get pictures of the women and the electronic and Shurik. No one else. And I mean, I can't suspend my disbelief for that. I mean, if they would write, what's it called, paint a lot of people, this whole development thing would take way longer. It would be so much more work. What are they called? Like the non-real people? Extras. Like the extras in the movies and whatnot. I can get behind them just skipping that. Here, I don't have an issue. And how much was still lying ahead in the future? The common country scenery in the window didn't interest me much. I was just watching Alice peacefully sleeping. My heart was filled with warmth and calmness, and my head finally stopped bursting with thoughts. But happiness is a fragile matter. Many things can destroy it. Time, for example. The longer your happiness lasts, the more common it becomes. Emotions dull, new problems and worries appear. I felt good, but accumulated exhaustion didn't let me enjoy the moment. I fell asleep. Day ... Seems I'm getting old. It's below time. No? The day was over and the hangover should have been long gone, but I felt sick and dizzy. Banana Waffle Monkey says, anticipating bad events ahead of time to soften them when they happen. Like Murphy's Law. Can only have a positive. Can only be positive. Well, you can only be positively surprised. Despite how hard I tried, I was unable to open my eyes. I just rolled over I wonder what awaits me in the district center. How am I to live? Maybe it's not all that bad. Not sure, I don't know where to begin, but on the other hand, this world doesn't seem so hostile. I know a lot of things here. Everyone speaks Russian, so maybe nothing bad is going to happen. Suddenly, I felt very sick. Damn it! Damn it! I thought it was all gone by yesterday evening. I managed to reach the toilet, moving instinctively. Oh, he doesn't marry her now? Is he waking up in his real life? After some time, when my dirty business was done, I returned to the room, and then I realized I'm back in my old flat. Oh, so the good ending is coming back to reality. However, it's not so old. It seems nothing had changed during my week absence. So now he's hungover again from that party where he had the experience. Interesting. The dust layers haven't even grown thicker. The keyboard position, monitor incline, and the stain from a cup of tea on the table stung in my eyes. Theoretically, a man in my condition shouldn't notice such details, but the entire room drew my attention to the most minor of details, as if it was twinkling with different colors, like a video game, sparkling, like, ooh, you can interact with this here and this here and this here, because they sparkle. The socks were thrown around in exactly the same manner as they had been before, the blankets set rumpled on the unmade bed as it was before. The dirty window showed the same view of the street, like a crackled kinescope. Cracked kinescope? Don't know what that is. Whatever. In vain, I tried to become terrified, or at least scared. Oh, no? Maybe it's shock effect, post-traumatic stress disorder, or something like that. After all, several hours ago, I wasn't even thinking of returning to the real world. The pioneer camp, the girls, Lisa, the mythical district center, where I would have arrived if I hadn't woken up in my flat, all that had started to seem real to me. Maybe my fantastic vacation to Soniak was just a dream. My feet started to rack up circles around the room. I held my hands behind my back and started to think everything over. Only one thing is clear. I've returned as suddenly as I arrived there, without any reason or logic. Maybe there was some sort of explanation, but it's beyond my or human comprehension. Whether it was a trick by interstellar forces, or a supreme mind, or a government experiment, I believe the last one to be the least likely. They left no clues. I was unable to find answers in the camp. It would be foolish to expect things to become clearer here. Really? It's like searching for evidence in a house that's been burned to ashes. Oh, right, he means in the flat. I thought he meant here in the real world, but no, he meant his home. I'm thinking there might be some interesting, super special drug involved, since they took like psychedelic trip taken in the party. I don't know. Even if a crime was committed, all the evidence was destroyed by the fire. Maybe if I had the skills and equipment of a criminologist, I would find something, but the memories of the week spent in the camp are all I've got. But it wasn't a dream. I knew it for sure. My hangover was absolutely real. My feelings and emotions were genuine and not just stuff of dreams. So Google the people, like look them up in the phone book, whatever. Therefore I've been there. I've spent a week in Sobionic Pioneer Camp with the camp leader and the pioneers, with Elisa. Memories of her made me sigh. It would have been great to live with her. Wait a minute. What's wrong with me? I should be glad I returned home to the real world, or shouldn't I? For now, I just couldn't evaluate the situation reasonably. I couldn't understand whether I wanted to stay there or enjoy my long-awaited return. I noticed a 5-ruble coin on the table. I took it and began to toss it up without any purpose, counting the number of heads and tails. A long time ago, maybe even in school, I heard that in an infinite number of coin tosses, the probability are not equal to 50% each. Yeah, that makes sense. Maybe it's because the coin doesn't have a perfect shape and weight, or because some other reason. However, after some time I counted 70 heads and 71 tails. So the theory of relativity lies. What? But I'm not the man to judge it. I don't know much about it. You clearly don't. Like 140 coin tosses? And you compare that to infinity? What are you talking about? I recalled my childhood when I heard the word tails for the first time. For some reason, it always made me think of squirrels. Yeah, for me too. When I think of Tails, like Sonic and Tails, and I think Tails is a squirrel as well. But she isn't. She's a fox, isn't she? That's very strange. Maybe there is some logic in this. A squirrel does indeed have a tail. Now this theory seems strange to me. But at the same time, I couldn't find any conclusive evidence to disprove it. So does that mean that squirrels come out more frequently than heads? But one must consider that squirrel has a head as well, so I yanked on my hair and sighed, exhausted. Now is not the time for thinking such rubbish. Yeah, it is. Kind of fun rubbish. On the other hand, what time is it? What is it time? What is now the right time for? There we go. What can I do? What is under my control? If I hadn't bothered trying to find answers during the week there, what would be the point of thinking now? Maybe I should just try and go back to my ordinary life. The words ordinary life were painful to me. Why did I choose that specific word? I could have said past or former or something else. I guess because it was what I was used to. That's the most obvious answer. As they say, when you get used, what you get used to becomes second nature to you. Indeed. Instantly, all of the last week's events floated before my eyes. Did I really want to stay there so badly? Was just 1 week enough for me to get used to Olga picking at me all the time, Uliana's pranks, and joking around, or Alice's cheekiness and mockery? I had no answer to this question, but it was obvious that I already miss it. Although I'm sure I'll never return there. Obviously, I can't tell whether the force that brought me there might want to entertain itself again. And again and again. It's possible. But for now, I have what I have. an adventure that I'll remember for the rest of my life. Damn it, how many people get to experience something like that? Even books, even dreams about such things are unthinkable. The main thing is that it wasn't Dr. Moreau's evil island, but a normal Soviet pioneer camp with normal pioneers, and its commonness was overlaid by the astonishing origin of my arrival there. Anyway, it wasn't the worst experience of my life. Perhaps it was one of the best. Obviously, it's sad that everything just ended halfway through. But every story has an end. It's good that it ended that way. Who knows what else could have happened? Here we go. Time passed. The events that took place in the camp now seemed more like a fascinating novel that I once read. Oh, here we go. He's tooting his own horn again. Fascinating novel that I once read, eh? No, I haven't forgotten them. I could recall them in the finest detail. I remember how, as a child, I used to lie under a blanket with a flashlight and read a fascinating book about spaceflight until dawn. Sometimes I was unable to get up to go to school. My parents always used to scold me for that, but with every night approaching, I would carefully turn every page, trying to absorb every minor detail of the story. Oh yeah, oh man. I remember the Belgariad. That was my first. And the Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy. My tween years. That was good times. I had similar feelings about that pioneer camp. Reality, if I can consider it as such, now seemed more like a book. I didn't think it was bad at all in the end. In the end, the main thing is to remember, and it is not important where these memories take the form of a slideshow, photos, video, or audio. Now each bus made me feel both fear and hope. At first I circled around the 410 route without purpose. Several times I fell asleep on the same seat. But nothing happened, not even a trace of something supernatural. As times went by, I stopped these idle trips. Something changed in my life. I just couldn't do otherwise. A couple of weeks after my return from the camp, I took up my guitar that was lying lonely and gathering dust in the corner. Striking a couple of chords, I remembered Alisa. For me, her image was inseparable from this instrument. At first, it didn't work out very well. Maybe I just had no talent for music. I started reading teach-yourself books and watching video lessons. On the other hand, all the effort wasn't a burden anymore. I just played the chords and polished my skill. There we go. The moral of the story is not getting a girlfriend. It's about embracing life. The good and the bad, I suppose. And as with any kind of activity, including music, practice makes perfect. About half a year later, I realized that I'd achieved some results. At least I could now smoothly play parts of my favorite songs. Satisfied with my progression, I put a couple of advertisements on music forums, intending to form my own band. I still had no idea what kind of music I wanted to play. My tastes varied from something really heavy to anime soundtracks. At first it seemed impossible for me. I would have to communicate with strangers. And what if we are just too different? And anyway, how do I explain to others what music I want to make? But it all worked out much easier. The potential candidates turned out to be not so frightening, and our tastes were mostly the same. After all, we shared the same goals, so issues stemming from a lack of understanding could be resolved. Soon we had a band. Suddenly I discovered my talent as a composer. Having spent entire days and nights on the note editor and sequencers, I started composing okayish things, at least in the opinions of the other band members and pals I showed my songs to. Quite soon we gave our first concert. A D-list club not significantly more spacious than my bedroom. 3.5 viewers who weren't exactly sober. I was hellishly anxious, and the sound equipment was constantly malfunctioning. But all of that didn't bother me because I was happy. Since this was just the first step to success. However, it was a long time before we were invited again. With great difficulty, we managed to record 3 tracks and publish them on the internet. The reviews were far from ecstatic, but it didn't bother me much. It was just the beginning. Maybe some consider our music just a leisure activity or a brief fixation, but for me it was serious. After all, it was me who had founded the band, and all the music was mine as well. I felt a personal responsibility for the fate of my creation. Every spare moment I spent on improving my performance technique, and after a year I could already confidently say that I wasn't the worst guitarist in the world. Then some sort of popularity came. We were giving concerts almost every week, and were finally getting paid. It wasn't important that it was just 500 rubles per man. The fact that our work was in demand and someone was ready to pay for it, even though we were usually a warm-up for other bands, was what mattered. I was sitting before my monitor, torturing a guitar. The date of an upcoming concert was thickly circled on the computer desktop calendar. The very thought of that gave me the goosebumps. It will be the first time we will be the headliners, and we'll have an album presentation as well. I wonder how many discs would be sold. Of course, the CDs era is already over, but there are still some who appreciate it. Maybe some will buy it just to support the band. I looked at the date once more. Yes, it's exactly 1 year since I returned from Sauvignon. My smile reflected in the darkened monitor screen. I wonder whether Alisa would like my music even if she existed in this world. I don't think so. She preferred Soviet rock classics, but who knows? I played a couple of complicated guitar parts and concluded with a feeling of satisfaction that the sound of my guitar surpasses by far that of the Soviet Ural guitars, and my skill has overcome that of the guitarists of the same era. I wonder whether I would have achieved all this without those fantastic events. Unlikely. Nothing strange about that. Lots of people rethink their life after stepping close to the edge. Sure, nothing dangerous happened back then, but psychological shock is a good substitute for grave danger. I rehearsed my part one more, put the guitar into the case, and packed all my stuff and headed to the exit. It was cold outside, just like that day. Slowly I approached the bus for the 14th stop. Such a coincidence. I'm going to the club on this very same bus. With a sinking heart, I counted down the seconds. Soon the bus arrived. It idly opened the doors and swallowed up a few passengers. It was a winter night, just like back then. Cars flashed by the outside with their headlights igniting the city as it got ready to sleep. The closer we got to the downtown area, the more people there were in the streets. Some of them were chatting merrily, some were pers- perusing magnificent boutique windows, some were hurrying somewhere, paying no attention to anything. This day I had no wish to return to that camp. Any other time maybe, but not today. I must play the concert, and the rest can go to hell. I had a clear aim and nothing else mattered. The club was considerably bigger than the one we played our first concert in, but at the moment it was empty. The sound check was going on. I couldn't hear the drums through the monitor loudspeakers, which I desperately tried to tell the sound guy about. Sound tuned, gadgets installed, set lists all prepared, ready to rock. But it is a special day. We are not to warm up. The other guys are doing the warm up before our concert. Thus, our entrance is last. As I listened to the first band, I noticed that they have a lot of improving to do. On the other hand, we were no better not so long ago. As the time got closer to start of our performance, my tension grew enormous. Come on, I was literally shaking with anxiety. I decided not to listen to the other band and wait calmly in the dressing room. Judging by their expressions, my mates were in the same mood. We were silent. Actually, we had nothing to talk about. Our parts were learned and perfected a long time ago. Only nervousness could hinder us, but we already have some experience, so everything will be fine. At least I comforted myself with this thought. And now, finally, the time has come. I don't remember how we entered the stage and greeted the audience. My consciousness turned on when the first chord of our first song came from the speakers. While sitting in the makeup room, I'd desperately tried to warm my ice-cold finger, but now they ran from string to string without the slightest mistake, as if they were charmed. A thought flashed across my mind. Why didn't I still make a single mistake? When I played all these parts at home during rehearsals, I never thought about it. Everything seemed a matter of course, but now, when I stood in front of an audience, it felt different. Somewhere deep in my mind there was a thought that soon my finger would slip, and thank goodness for it. The thinking didn't interfere with me playing. Our performance was nearing the end. And now it was the time for the difficult solo that I'd been learning for so long. By that point, my nervousness had vanished and I played through it perfectly. Even better than the rehearsals. Finally, our performance was over and the concert hall burst with applause. I smiled awkwardly, at least I thought so, and bowed several times with the rest of the band. They shouted encore to us. Encore, even without them shouting. I would have been glad to play something else. But we'd run out of songs, and we were just a newly formed band. Euphoria prevailed in the dressing room as we congratulated and hugged each other. The sounds of opening champagne bottles echoed in the halls. All our discs had been sold, which made us even happier. Finally, I managed to become something too. It's impossible to predict the future of our band or our whole affair with music. But one thing was clear. I have finally found something I am interested in and can dedicate my entire life to. As well as that, I can see that may be able to make most people other than me happy too, which was probably now I was probably now the happiest man on earth. At least it was surely the best moment of my life. The club is empty, instruments are packed, and I am waiting for the others so we can go home. Hey, said a girl. I turned around and saw a girl standing nearby. Her tone wasn't too polite, but it wasn't hostile either. I liked your performance. Thanks. The darkness of the club prevented me from clearly seeing her face, but I was sure it was extremely familiar to me. And you, I stepped forward. Exactly, it was Elisa. Oh man, is he gonna do the pickup line? Have I seen you somewhere before? Like, do I know you from somewhere? Best pickup line. I froze on the spot, unable to speak. What about me? Nothing. I just thought I'd seen you somewhere. I decided not to jump at her with questions about a pioneer camp. After all, it's possible this girl merely looks like her. Or something like that. Anyway, it was obvious that she was seeing me for the first time, or at least was pretending to. Well, generally it's true, she peered. My name is Semyon. Forcing an artificial smile, I offered her my hand. I actually know that. How? I read it on the internet. Oh, yes, of course. And you are? Alisa, she replied somewhat confusedly. So I was right. But how right was I? Listen, did you ever go to Pioneer Camp as a child? No? Why are you asking? Just seemed that I'd met you there. How could you have met me there if I've never been there? She laughed. Yes, all of your musicians are somehow strange. No doubt. Well, I just wanted to say your music is not that bad, Alisa turned to leave. I felt that I needed to do something, say something. Will you come to our next concert? When? To be honest, I had no idea myself. Soon. Yes, maybe. Send me a message. Yeah, sure. We've shared our contact details with each other. Score, eh? Then I'll see you again, probably. Oh man, do we have to have a full epilogue when they get married and everything is all good? It's lunchtime. I waved her hand and went out. Obviously, I had no idea if she was the very same Alisa I met in the camp. Any number of theories were nullified by an absolute absence of facts. But at that moment, it was the last thing that concerned me, as I was filled with emotions, both from the concert and meeting Alisa. After all, nothing preventing me from calling her. And then, we'll see. I smiled, shouldered my guitar, and started walking to the 410 bus stop with my mates. Pickup Guru. Every story has its beginning and its end. Every story has its own outline, synopsis. Wow. Alright, thanks for playing. Alright, this was my favorite ending so far. It was the actual ending that actually happened about Semyon, and we started to get some kind of like, in this ending, we could consider this all as a dream or like a trip or something, that he had an experience actually tackling his depression and like starting the what's it called, the road to betterment, I suppose. We could read it like that. Yeah, I think this was my favorite ending so far. And now it's lunchtime. No more discussions on that ending. I'll continue this tomorrow. Go a couple of other endings. I think it'll be faster now since we can, since Colgate, Tapler taught us that we can skip this, which was such a boon. But thanks for today, and cheers. Bye bye.